A few weeks ago, I released the first major set of enhancements to Illuminated Cloud for Salesforce Lightning development. At the time, I mentioned that I'd be enhancing that feature across a series of phases. I wanted to show some of the things that have gone into the second phase of development. Before I get started, one thing I wanted to point out is that everything you're going to see here is an IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition, which is the free version, not Ultimate Edition. The reason I point that out is because, of course, Salesforce Lightning development is based heavily on JavaScript and CSS, and Community Edition support for that is very, very light. My goal here is to provide a very pleasant development experience for Salesforce, including Lightning, even in Community Edition when used in conjunction with Illuminated Cloud. So let's take a look. First, I'll point out that this application includes the Salesforce Lightning Design System style sheet. And so one of the major enhancements here is that you now get completion for the styles being pulled in from that style sheet. And that's not hard-coded to SLDS or for that particular instance of SLDS. Any style sheet that you put into a Lightning Require styles will be available for completion. Similar in Visualforce, any Apex style sheet will be available for completion, the styles from it. Okay, so let's go into one of the components being used by this, in this case a form component, and let's take a look at some of the other completion enhancements. So one of them, just like in Visualforce, is that Apex controller classes are now available for completion and for navigation, and if I find usages off of this, it'll bring me back into Lightning. So now you can navigate back using find usages from Apex into Lightning. Now let's go into one of the expressions and take a look at some of the completions that are available there. I'll go ahead and just bring up completions. Of course, all the Excel style formulas are available just as they are in Visualforce, but more importantly, I want to point out the few things at the top. C and V are two very, very special and very heavily used global variables in Lightning development. And they effectively represent the controller, both the Apex controller, for example, expense controller, and the JavaScript controller, which of course should be the more heavily used controller, and view, in this case, the view attributes that are available in this component. And so now we also get context-sensitive completions off of that. So in this case, we can see the functions available in the JavaScript controller and the methods available that are annotated as are enabled in the expense controller is that you can see in the ARA component tag at the top. All right, so let's move into the controller, and as I mentioned, I've tried to make the JavaScript and CSS development experience, even in Community Edition, significantly more pleasant. So let's take a look at that. So I'll go ahead and start typing, and the first thing that you'll see is that we have completions here. These completions are being sourced from all of the linkable context of this particular development file. So in this case, we're in a controller, and it has access to the JavaScript standard library objects and functions, to the BOM and DOM, the browser object model and document object model, because of course controllers, renderers, and helpers execute in the context of the browser, and to Lightning specific constructs. So for example, other symbols available in this controller, and then symbols available in the JavaScript helper, the Lightning JavaScript helper if available. So we'll go ahead and take update event, and now we can see that we have keyword completion, paren and brace matching, and so much faster, hopefully, for typing within JavaScript. When I hit enter, you'll actually see an auto indent behavior here. This is not a full-fledged formatter for JavaScript, similar with CSS, but it does give you what you get in other coding editors, where it understands that you've gone into a new brace, bracketed or parenthesized context, and it'll automatically take you to the next level of indent. The idea here is just to prevent you from having to tab and shift tab all the time. And so we'll go and type helper. We can see that's passed in as a parameter by the icon, dot, start typing upsert expense, and now we can see that that is actually a function defined in formhelper.js. Take the completion, because it takes parameters, put me right in the middle, and we'll go ahead and say component, comma, event.getParam, and we can see getParam from event, and I'll go ahead and say expense. Okay, so that would be an example of some JavaScript editing enhancements that are available now. All right, so why don't we move over into the helper itself and take a look at some of the things that are available here. So one of the first things that I'll point out is that When you're inside of a string literal, inside of controller, helper, renderer, JavaScript, there's actually an evaluation context to that string literal. So I'll take completions here. You can put references to things from the component or application and actually use them here. So in this case, this component.get is going to go and refer to an action. In this case, off of the controller save expense. And so we can see when we do completions that we have access to C and V and all those other things. One other thing I'll point out here is that we have access to the RID values for the components being used in the view. And let's take a look at that real quick. So here we have an input text, input number, input text, input date time, and you can see it's expense name, amount, client, and then expense date. And if we go back over to our helper and do that, we can see that those are available here, and it actually shows the component type associated with that RID value. Okay, so let's go over here and see what controller completions are available to us. And in this case, we want to go and get the save expense action off of the Apex controller, and so you can see that down here, and we can go and actually take that as a completion, and we can go and of course set the parameters that are going to be passed that, set the callback, all those other Lightning specific things. One other thing that I wanted to show real quick is let's see, so let's go to the expense list component and show some of the global variable completions that are available now. So you can see here I'm using dollar label. So if we, after dollar, look for completions, we can see that the three dollar global variables are available: label, browser, locale. And in this case, after label, if I take one, it's the C namespace, so basically the current namespace. Take that completion, and then now I actually have a message catalog for this particular project, and I can see the labels that are available and tab through them. So I can even go look at that particular label, navigate back, and then let's look at some of the other global variable completions that are available. So dollar, let's see, locale, dot, country, currency, all those things, label for today, and dollar browser dot is iPhone. So reasonable set of enhancements here. I hope this will definitely help with your development. As I said, everything here is available in Community Edition, everything that I've shown so far. One thing I didn't even show is the, let's go back over here and just look at the CSS, is you've got syntax highlighting and completion on CSS. So let's take a look at that. So all of the standard selectors, all of the standard values, you can see that numeric constants are syntax highlighted properly. You know, even if we said px rather than %, those are highlighted properly. We get auto indent here as well, so should make for a much more pleasant experience when developing Lightning components. Again, quite a few of these enhancements are also available for Visual Force as well, so should make that quite a bit more pleasant as well. All of these also work in Ultimate Edition. They augment what Ultimate Edition does for its own JavaScript capabilities, but I wanted to show that even within the free companion from JetBrains, that things are actually quite pleasant for development now. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy this.